Having lost a third of the Black Sea Fleet, Russia continues to churn out new targets for Ukrainian anti-ship weapons. This year, Putin's military-industrial complex plans to sign a contract for the construction of 2 large landing ships and use them to try to capture Ukraine again.
From the very beginning, they planned for 6, but again, these 6 ships will not save them.
Meanwhile, even with 2 such ships already today, the Russians are completely unable to use them as intended, and looking ahead are unlikely to ever be able to use them as originally designed by the engineers.
The concept of how they conduct an amphibious operation is already outdated.
Russia's large landing ships, how many are currently left? How are they dangerous for Ukraine? How many more of these vessels, so does the Kremlin plan to assemble, and what ships has Putin ordered to be built this year? This is what we'll discuss today in Arsenal. Evidently, after calculating their losses at sea, the Kremlin decided that what they lack the most are large landing ships. It became known that this year the Russian defense industry plans to sign a contract for the construction of 2 ships of project Da Ilosampindan-11. Laid down in the year 2004, the very first ship of this project was Ivan Gren, which took a whole 14 years to build in total. During its trials, the ship demonstrated amazingly terrifying stability and delighted with more than 40 design defects. But there was no more time to delay, and the large landing ship was launched, as it was. The second large landing ship of this series, Petermogunov, seemingly should have been built taking into account the mistakes of its predecessor. However, the attempt to fix them resulted in new problems. It underwent trials for more than a year and was only handed over to the Russian Navy at the end of 2019.
Peter Morganov from the Northern Fleet came to us about 2.5 years ago. Now, it's stationed hidden in Novorossiysk. They're afraid that we might also hit it.
This ship was supposed to land troops in Ukraine at the beginning of the full-scale invasion. It was the one that bobbed around for several weeks during a storm near Odessa and soon sailed away without completing its mission. Later, the Russians called Petermogunov a miracle weapon in the matter of mine warfare, effectively turning a multi-purpose ship into a mere platform for transporting mines.
It is one of the most, well, probably one of the most capacious ships on which the largest number of naval mines can be placed and deployed in some area for defensive minefields.
It is worth remembering that in Russia, the construction of 2 more ships of Project 11-17-11 is ongoing. Vladimir Andreev and Vasily Trushin, which began back in 2019. It is known that their designers decided to make some changes. At the very least, the displacement has been increased by 1.5 tons. Consequently, the ship itself will also become larger. According to expert assessments, this is most likely due to the fact that additional air defense systems and possibly anti-drone installations will be mounted on the decks.
I don't see any other, and therefore, differences there. There, on the deck, there is a 16-ton crane that loads lifeboats and various high-speed boats onto the ship. There, 2 K-29 helicopters can be used. This is an old Soviet helicopter, an attack type, quite heavy, or 1 K-52 helicopter. You can take on board that is 13 60-ton tanks. So in principle, well, practically, a tank company practically. Additionally, 36 armored personnel carriers and combat vehicles, or that is either 30 vehicles or 300 Marines.
However, the principle of application and the capabilities as a whole have remained unchanged.
It's a fairly large ship. It can transport a Marine battalion. There you go. It's somewhat, well, it has an interesting design, but its system, the landing system, the concept remained the same, Soviet. That is, the ship approaches the shore, opens the ramp, and the landing force disembarks.
And with this approach, experts say, continuing the construction of such ships is a utopia. Simply put, no one fights like that anymore. In modern warfare, approaching the shore for a landing is practically impossible, as demonstrated in the year US 2022.
In order to land troops in Odessa, you need to capture Nikolaev cut off the Kiev-Odessa road and connect, have the Russians link up with Transnistria. Only then does a landing operation make sense.
The paradox is that the Russians themselves are beginning to understand this. For example, the BDK Ivan Gren, the lead ship of this project, is used by Russia not for combat missions, but for staged exhibitions of fake trophies from Ukraine.
Also, take note, comments, children. Here, that is everything. So, it all starts very early. Here, you see, Russians tied up to DNR, killed, vodka, and cigarettes.
And now the most interesting part. Having 2 ships without the possibility of their rational use, with 2 more under construction. This year, Russia plans to sign a contract for the construction of 2 more ships of Project 111711.
From the very beginning, they planned for 6, but again, these 6 ships won't save them against the backdrop of the total obsolescence of the fleet and landing ships. Plus, we need to add that we have, destroyed a significant part of them.
There are 2 immediate answers to the obvious question, why? Either the Kremlin is still planning a possible landing in Odessa after successes on land as corresponding information has been received, or they plan to use the ships in another region.
Most likely due to the budget, due to sanctions, their construction was halted. Now, as I understand it, they want to complete a couple more ships. They are already, in fact, under construction. For quite a long time, they have wanted to build them and send them to Tuaps.
One thing remains certain today. The usual scheme of the Russian military-industrial complex, where combat-ready equipment was purchased abroad and the military budget was heavily embezzled, producing a few non-analogous projects per decade to justify its existence, in those times, have faded into oblivion. Today, everything that Putin can use for war has to be assembled by the Russians themselves.
After the loss of these ships during the war, against Ukraine, they realized that they might end up without any ships at all. And no one in Europe is going to sell them landing ships now. That's why they are building these ships.
Ukraine is also preparing for these constructions. Whether our special services will allow the construction to be completed is an open question, as unexpected incidents have not been ruled out. But even if the ships are launched and brought into the Black Sea basin, we will definitely have something to respond with.
Maritime drones, airborne cruise missiles will be complemented by the F-16. The F-16s can work very effectively against them.
Did you like this video? Then don't forget to give it a like and write in the comments about which other weapons you'd like to learn more. And most importantly, subscribe to our new Arsenal channel. The link is in the description below the video.